Very much thanks indeed for staying with us. My name is Iharuata. It's now time for us to look at the aviation sector. It's a sector that has to do both with land, air, and whatever you think. It's not just about air per se, though the plane flies in the air, but somehow, you know, we got the airport terminals are on the ground. We got the plane actually, it lands on the ground, it takes off from the ground, and somehow most of the work there happens on the ground. The plane rests on the ground, parks on the ground, refuel on the ground. So the ground is also very important for the aviation system, not just about flying, but the beauty of the plane is the ability to stand and to go into the sky and indeed move faster than the conventional one we do on road. My name is Ikaruata. Let's now talk aviation as we do every week on this station here. Mr. Godwin N. Ike, the man whose picture you see on the screen there, is the aviation freak who discussed with us, and his contact is also on the screen for us to interface with him here. Most of us who watch the program to interface with him. We've got the website there. His YouTube channel is very much there, and you can tweet at him at Aviation Freaks here so that we get talking. Okay, you know for sure the issue of the national carrier was very much on the front burner last week, although somehow the defection Gail at the House of Reps and the Senate pushed that to the corner. And now we are beginning to see that, look, we just need very strongly to get things properly aligned here. And the question many are asking is, if we are looking at a new national carrier now, we must not forget what really happened to the old national carrier. Because if you want to actually go into the future, then history will play a key role. If we forget history, then history will again repeat itself. My name again is Ikaruata, and Mr. Godwin any case in the house. So very wonderful morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And how was your weekend?
Good, thank God the weekend was fine. It was good. How was yours?
Oh, wonderful as always.
Okay, our time has been fast spent. Quickly, let's rush through the Nigerian Air Nigeria. We have so many names here, but we're looking at the Nigerian Airways. Once the beauty of the sky, once the pride of Africa, once the pride of West African sub-region, once the pride of Nigeria, but now some bunch of scrappy airlines, scrappy aircraft packed in different areas. We're going to show for it.
Oh, wonderful. After this morning, we're going to start a brand new series. We've done this before way back in the past, but it's pertinent at this moment that we remind ourselves of some hard facts. Today, we're going to be, as we look for investors, which is one of the burning issues with the Nigeria Air right now. Some are saying, oh, investors must come first before the going concern called Nigeria Air. And others are saying, no, Nigeria Air, I belong to the latter. That Nigeria Air should be a going concern in place and valued and known what's available before you begin to look for. So attracting investment in the Nigerian aviation industry is a big issue. So as we do that, what we're telling our viewers this morning is, lest we forget the Nigeria Airways story. I think that's it on the screen, part one.
Lest clip one. Okay, that's the caption. Lest we forget Nigerian Airways story, part one.
Yes, that's correct. So let's roll immediately with our clips. Clip one is simply telling us a topic that...
Okay, attracting investment in the Nigerian aviation industry, the role of government and industry players.
That's very correct. To move on to clip two, let's start very quickly. Time is on our friend, and see how long. We have about 21 clips, but wherever we stop, we move to part two next week and remind our fellow Nigerians what went on with Nigeria Airways. Attracting investment in the Nigerian aviation industry is squarely dependent on availability of the right legal framework and sustainable enabling environment. Investors are usually attracted to business environments that are stable, predictable, legal, survivable, and profitable. So you see these are what investors are going to be looking out for as we set up Nigeria Air. I'll repeat that very quickly. The environment has to be stable, predictable, legal, survivable, and profitable. If we don't have, if any of those is missing in the meal we are serving, our investors, they are not likely to sit down on the table. Okay. So, As a way of answering the question raised by this topic, I shall, with deep and very painful nostalgic feelings, call our memories back to the beginning and end of Nigeria Airways. The best airline Africa, and indeed the world, ever knew. The beginning and continued big successes of the Emirates Airlines, Kenyan Airways, and Ethiopian Airlines will also be x-rayed. Comparing and contrasting the two airlines will certainly answer the question this topic is begging for. If we get down to clip 3, are we there? Clip 3, please. I mean, page 3. This time around, we're dealing with pages today.
Okay, page 3.
You will see the lovely Nigeria Airways that we feel very nostalgic about, and our lovely young ladies. They must be mamas and grandmas by now.
Very strong. That's true.
Move on very quickly to 4. You see our national color. This was what an average Nigeria Airways aircraft
looked like.
The cabin. This was what it used to look like. I'm sure a lot of young Nigerians that never experienced this will be wondering, you mean we had something so lovely in this country at a time? And I said to you, my dear young ones, yes, even better. Unfortunately, this is where we are. But we're building again. Let's run quickly to 5 and see a little more.
Page 5.
Yeah, page 5 and see a little more.
That was the ticket.
Yes, that's you know, on the left is the way the Nigeria Airways ticket used to look, and the other is the tax of 5 naira. The one we pay 1,000 naira for today used to be 5 naira. So that is the tax receipt at 5 naira. Huh. I'm sure the young ones will be amazed and saying, you mean it was that cheap? Let's take a look at page 6. That's got another beautiful
aircraft.
Another beautiful, Nigeria Airways plane. I think that was one of the 727 Boeings, from the way that plane is looking. So 6. Move on to 7. Move on to 7. Let's run quickly.
Okay.
History of Nigeria Airways. Now that we've seen all the good photographs and gotten them back into our memories, let's look at how they came and what happened and how they went down. Nigeria Airways Limited was founded on the 23rd August 1958. After the dissolution of West African Airways Corporation WAC, WAAC. Although it commenced operations precisely on the 1st October 1958, it bore the name WAAC Nigeria until 22nd January 1971, when it formally rebranded as Nigeria Airways. So that it was on the 22nd of January 1971 that we had Nigeria Airways. It used to be WAC. Okay? Between 1958 and 1961, the government of Nigeria had only a 51% majority share. Today we are begging for 5%. Well, as at that time, it was 51%. But Dempster Airlines and BOAC, that's the British Airways, British Overseas Airways Corporation, was a British organization, had the rest of the shares. But in 1961, the Nigerian government boosted its ownership to 100%. So, from 1961, Nigerian government was 100% owners of Nigeria Airways and made it Nigeria's flag bearer. We were also proud of that airline, I must tell you, Atta. I remember I used to fly them, fortnightly, between Lagos and London. Managed by a number of foreign airlines, British Airways, the Dutch KLM, and South African Airways. Its operations concentrated in West Africa and some points in Europe, North America, and Saudi Arabia. You see the different
yes, and
the different airlines that try to help to keep Nigeria Airways alive, but the challenge was not letting up. But anyway, let's look at page 8. And,
page 8, please, quickly.
Yes, page 8.
Yes, Airways continues.
That's correct. In the early 1980s, while being managed by the KLM team, Nigeria Airways was at its peak with a fleet of over 30 aircraft.
That's beautiful.
Yes, yes. Who can believe this today? Records had it that in spite of its successes, it was behind in its accounts by 2 years. As at this time in question, in spite of making huge sums of money and dominating the skies in Africa, the management of Nigeria Airways had not audited its account for 2 straight years.
Why?
Ask me, irresponsibility, that's all. That's no other way to answer it. Just a bunch of very irresponsible individuals managed this and didn't consider that they owed Nigeria as a nation the responsibility of showing the performance of the airline. And is it any wonder that people began to dip hands into the till to fritter away money? It's no wonder, isn't it? So models of airplanes flown by the company included Airbus 310, Boeing 737, and Douglas DC-10. And Atta, let's remember what we're saying to ourselves today is lest we forget. Yes. Lest we forget.
The need for us to remember where we made the mistake.
That's correct. So as we are looking forward to Nigeria Air, those that will manage Nigeria Air must be sure that more knowledgeable people are around, you and I are around, and we're going to keep an eye and make sure that we won't accept any nonsense this time around. Right. So I've just models of airplanes flown by the company included Airbus A310, Boeing 737, and Douglas DC-10. The last Douglas DC-10 ever built was flown by Nigeria Airways. Can you believe it? The very last that rolled out of the factory was owned and flown by Nigeria Airways. Now, aircraft leasing was Nigeria Airways' common practice. Some of its lessors included Leka Airways, Ethiopian Airlines, and AER Lingos. By what I know today, it wasn't a bad idea because leasing helps you to have your airplanes without putting down huge capital, and get the business going and taking your profit and paying the lessors their own bit of the money. It makes sense. We can still do the same today, and that's what I've been recommending as a matter of fact, that we should do more of a mixture of wet and dry leases, and I'm going to explain those if I find time, the difference between the wet lease and the dry lease. Right. Mismanagement, corruption, and overstaffing were identified as the poison that killed Nigeria Airways at the time of closure in 2003. It had huge debt burden. At the time of closure, it had huge debt burden. Can we find clip 9? Page 9. I'm so used to clips. By what you're seeing, you must know that this is already a book in waiting. But I'm doling it out to Nigerians and indeed the world free, ahead of time. It's a very specially arranged one. But let's get on with this. These are summaries of what we have in the real thing.
Okay.
Yeah. We are continuing with the history of Nigeria Airways. As a way of ensuring efficiency and profitability, the airline signed a training contract agreement with KLM in September 1979. The contract was similar to the one also signed with TWA in 1972. TWA happened to be one of the American airlines. A military coup d'etat which took place in the last day of 1983 changed the structure of government and the airline. Bernard Bamfa was appointed new managing director. He promptly dismissed all the KLM-trained staff of the airline. Can you imagine that? After spending so much money and in building capacity and having well-trained individuals. You come into power, get hold of an airline, and the wise thing you found to do was sack all the trained ones and leave round pegs in square holes to run the airline. Very unfortunate, but that was what happened.
That story.
Yeah. Introduction of IMF policies coupled with corruption, mismanagement, and overstaffing ignited the economic fire that consumed the airline from the 1980s. Can we find page 10?
The history continues.
Oh, yes. In early 1987, for accumulated debts of $1,100,000 US, the International Air Transport Association, IATA, suspended Nigeria Airways from the clearinghouse, a status that meant that the airline could neither issue tickets to fly on other IATA member airlines nor have the other member airlines do business with Nigeria Airways. So we became a pariah airline, because of the debt we owed. Yes. By late 1987, Nigeria Airways, operating with a monthly revenue of $5 million US monthly, directing $5 million US, but guess what? An expenditure of $5,175,000 US. So every month they were losing $175,000 US. They will generate
and spend above what they generate.
Yes, per month. Accumulated debts of approximately $250 million US, leading the airline into increasing international ticket fare by 20% and domestic ticket fare by 100%. In order to raise funds, they resorted to increase of, but the market reacted, and guess what? The consequence of this was reduced passenger traffic. People went for other airlines. Finding this situation unacceptable, the government ordered the airline to downsize its workforce immediately. Let's see if we can still do 11 and 12 and stop there and then continue next week.
We can stop at 13.
Oh, wonderful.
Go ahead.
Wonderful, wonderful. So has it gotten us to page 11? So I'm the one that is delaying now. But here we go. In December 1958, oh, rather, 1988, I'm sorry. In December 1988, the airline dismissed 3,000 employees, a third of its workforce at the time.
That means it has excessive high number of staff.
Yeah.
If 3,000 is a third, then it has been overstaffed. Very, very overstaffed.
What went on was unacceptably and highly irresponsible. You had an airline that just kept, bringing in untrained people. Because remember, when Bamford took over, he sacked all the trained staff, and then again, the airline began to take on all kinds of people. And what did you find? Most staff of Nigeria Airways, we board on a Friday night to London or some to New York, and then on Sunday night, they leave New York and London and back to Lagos with their trading activities. They were workers in the airline, and at the same time, big-time traders. And guess what? They were flying free of charge. How can an airline that's taking so much financial pressure do well? Remember, my dear viewers, we're saying to ourselves today, lest we forget. So as we look forward to Nigeria Air, these are the pitfalls and we are going to be avoiding, and these are the banana peels on our parts that we're going to find a way to navigate around them and make sure that we don't slip into the experience of Nigeria Airways. That's the essence of this program, by the way. So within did I say in December 1988, the airplane dismissed 3,000 employees, a third of its workforce at that time, and discontinued flights to a number of East African destinations, ceding some of its routes to a private airline, Okada Air. Within the same late 1980s, the airline lost a deposit of $350,000 for not firming up an order of 6 ATR-42s. The airplane you are looking at, that photograph you are looking at, is the ATR-42. You wouldn't believe it. Nigeria Airways put down a deposit of $350,000 at the time to acquire 6 of them, but didn't firm up because that was a non-refundable deposit. They never took delivery of those 6 airplanes and never got back $350,000. Sad, isn't it?
Very sad.
Right. Let's find page 12. And
that's page 12 there. Final demise of Nigerian Airways.
Final demise of Nigeria Airways. During these final days, Nigeria Airways defied all investment and restructuring options tried by government. The options included: in 1993, privatization was considered. This produced 2 companies. Number 1, Nigeria Airways, operating domestic routes, and number 2, Air Nigeria, operating international routes. B, after mutual banning of operations between Nigeria and the United Kingdom. Remember that time when British Airways was also banned? I think it was in the days of our President ABUJA. So, yeah. We also asked them to stop coming into Nigeria. British Airways can't really do without Nigerian market. I make bold to say that. If they doubt me, let them try. Big market here. Nigeria Airways in 1988 went into code-sharing agreement with British Airways. I've explained this code-sharing on this platform. It's all about 2 airlines doing business. This, whenever you post your number, is side by side with this other one. So if you buy a ticket from this, you may end up in the other. That's code-sharing. So whoever is available, carries the passenger with the ticket of either of the 2 airlines. So that's code-sharing for you. Where are we? Yes. C. In 1999, the International Finance Corporation (IFC) was engaged by government to assist with privatization and restructuring of Nigeria Airways. D. By the year 2000, a fleet of 32 aircraft in 1984 had gradually reduced to just 3 aircraft. Can you believe it?
Can be honest.
Ask them. We need to probe these guys.
Was that they were sold or they were grounded?
I wouldn't know. I am being tempted to recommend to government, as they want to dole out 42 billion naira to Nigeria Airways staff. Let's carry out a little bit of investigation and find out those that are culpable in what went wrong with Nigeria Airways, and see if we can save some money. Because if we find the culprits, we may end up not finding those that deserve to be paid money.
Some of them are late, some are very old.
Well, I wouldn't know, but I mean,
we still have records. Because most time they work manually here. The rats and the rodents would have had a good share of the files.
Well, here we are.
If they are still there.
Here we are. That's why this topic is lest we forget. So this time around, we can't afford to miss it. We have to do it right. Okay. All right? So D, but I've just done D, isn't it? Yeah. E, in 2001, the IFC withdrew from its advisory role. They got really frustrated because citing the companies and government's unwillingness to carry out necessary measures to attract investors. Okay. So we can do 13 very quickly.
That'll be our last clip for today.
Is it 12?
No, it's 12. Now let's go 13. Clip 13.
Okay, let's find
clip 13.
Clip 13. We have it on the screen already?
Yes.
Okay, so it's waiting for me to come on. So page 13 is saying we are continuing with the demise of the airline. In February 2001, a joint venture was struck between South African Airways and Nigeria Airways. By March 2002, South African Airways unilaterally terminated the deal, citing declining that decline in passenger numbers and a deficit of $4,900,000 US. So these guys just walked away because they couldn't stand our culture of financial mismanagement and irresponsibility, and the guys left. So, lest we forget ATA.
Go ahead, sir.
In May 2003, Nigeria Airways had only one serviceable Boeing 737-200 aircraft left. Number of carried passengers had dropped from 2.1 million in 1985 to just 10,000. Can you imagine that?
Yes, sir.
In the first quarter of 2003. In spite of government injecting $200 million US in the last decade, the airline still owed well over $528 million US. Amazing. Nigeria Airways ceased operations in 2003 and was liquidated in 2004. The awesome pride of Nigeria died, but its spirit lives on. And truly, its spirit lives on. That's why we are today talking about Nigeria Air. An agreement with Virgin Atlantic Airways produced Virgin Nigeria,
which never survived.
This also died.
No, that one was born in controversy. It lived in controversy and it died in controversy.
Avic Air took over ground facilities. He's also mortally sick. May God help his soul. May God help his soul.
It's one thing, as we set for clip 14 by next week, next week Monday, we're looking at clip 14 here. The fundamental thing before we go, I'll be asking you is, do we learn from history? Do we learn from history? As a nation, do we learn from history? You've just given us the pride. We've talked about all of this. And the question we'll be asking you, when we see the Ethiopian Air, when we see the Kenyan Air, when we see the pride of Africa now, we won't lie about it, the South African Airways here, the question we'll be asking, do we really learn from history?
It's a tricky one, a tricky question to answer, but I'll tell you.
It's a plain question. Do we learn? Because now we've seen how we were once the pride, how the British Airways, the American firm, we are all coming to come and say, hey, darling, but now...
In the days of Nigeria Airways, Nigeria and indeed the world didn't have the Godi case and didn't have the Thai Caros. Would you understand that? They didn't have us. And no one thought it wise to take it up with self-financing and give value to the society. I thought that's exactly what we are proudly doing here. It took me over 20 years of studying to dig so deep into this sector and said to myself, I am confident enough that nobody can contradict anything I say in this sector, and I came out public, and here we are. Now, be sure, the management of Nigeria Air will be on its toes, because every inch of the way we will report what they are doing right and what they are doing wrong. Right. And it will be the business of government. If we find any of the big shots in there doing the wrong things, government will just open up the door and say, here's the door, walk through it and get away from here. All right. So this is hoping and answering your question now more directly. We must learn this time at the ATA. We must learn. And we will do everything to ensure that this one does not fail.
Okay, let's hope we'll do that here. Next week, we start from clip 13. Still looking at, let's not forget, Nigerian Airways story. Very sad one indeed. As we look at Nigerian Air, we will be looking at the other one here. We were once great here, and the greatest among men fell and fell so badly, and the fall was great here. But now we want to see if we can rise from another path. But in that path, we still keeping history intact. Thanks for coming on the show, sir.
Thank you.
We wish you all the very best.
Wow,
clip 14 will be commencing by next week here. Please keep it there with us at 8 a.m. next week, Monday. We will be looking at this somehow. When you go through history, you remember the pain. Someone told me in a history class that, look, somewhere in 400 BC, before Christ here, Egypt was the pride of the world, But somehow Europe, then we are in tatters here. But today, the reverse of the case here. Europe is in good shape. Egypt and the African continent appears to be in shred. Even in 1346, around that area here, the first university in the world was in Timbuktu in modern Mali here. But today, Mali is in shred. We all jet to Europe, to the Cambridge, the Oxford, the Harvards, and others in this. We'll take a break. When we come back on the break, the program this morning on ITV continues.
As you wake up in the morning, the first thing in the mind is knowing what is going on around you.
Follow and get an up-to-date analysis on